Even though the Los Angeles Lakers would opt to not make a trade ahead of this year's trade deadline, a ton has changed over the past few weeks for this squad, with one of the biggest changes being the overall vibes that are surrounding it. The vibes have gone from terrible to great, with this team starting to look like it's finally figuring things out. Now, before we get into the content and talk about what's changed for this Lakers team, let's get a word from today's sponsor. So over the years, I've grown to love going to live events like concerts and basketball games with my family and friends. But while I've loved going to events, there is one thing that I used to hate about them, and that was the whole ticket buying process. I used to despise that process, but then I found out about Game Time and everything changed. Game Time is the fast, easy, and cheaper way to buy tickets for all sports, music, comedy, and theater events near you. They have great last-minute deals which are offered even an hour after an event starts. They have all-in prices, and they also have their lowest price guarantee, which is fantastic if you're just out there trying to find the best deal possible. With Game Time, you can also view your seat from the app, which is one of my favorite and most underrated features. Imagine wasting your hard-earned money thinking that you're getting amazing seats only for your view to be nothing like you thought it would. Guys, make your life easier and take the guessing out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code COOP for $20 off of your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code COOP for $20 off of your first purchase. I want to give a huge shout out to Game Time for coming through and sponsoring today's content. Coming into this year's trade deadline, there was a ton of uncertainty about what would actually happen amid this giant cloud of smoke. But regardless of any cloud of smoke, one thing had remained incredibly clear, and that was that LeBron James wanted Rob Pelinka to improve his Lakers team ahead of the trade deadline at all costs. Let's review some of the reports and things that happened that signaled LeBron's desire for some sort of change. For starters, we had LeBron tweeting out this hourglass after the Lakers lost to the Atlanta Hawks on the 30th of January. A few games later, the Lakers would beat the Knicks 113-105, and after the game, Bron would do his post-game interview while sporting none other than a New York Knicks towel. Which, mind you, that this same day, he said that he'd consider playing for the Knicks and that he's actually had this thought before. Now, I know what some of you guys are thinking, and I'm with you. It's just a towel. What's the big deal? This is where it gets ugly. According to a report, LeBron was showing off this towel as a part of his master plan to tease leaving the Los Angeles Lakers this offseason, just so that he could pressure them. To quote Brian Windhorst from the Hoop Collective podcast, LeBron was cognizant and aware that he was putting on a towel that said New York Knicks after the game. Why would he mess with the Knicks? Because he was using the Knicks to pressure the Lakers. The Lakers making a move ahead of the trade deadline may have seemed like a great idea to LeBron, but Pelinka would have the more logical approach, learning from that infamous Westbrook trade that would ultimately set the franchise back years. I actually love what Rob had to say after the trade deadline passed. To quote him, "You can't buy a house that's not for sale." The right move wasn't there. By Rob having a backbone and not allowing himself to get bullied into a potential trade, the Lakers would be able to keep D'Angelo Russell, Austin Reeves, Rui Hachimura, and the rest of their young talent and picks. Now, just because the Lakers didn't make a trade at the trade deadline, that doesn't mean that this team was done looking for ways to improve, because shortly after the deadline passed, they would add to the equation, bringing in the coveted Spencer Dinwiddie, who had chose the Lakers over the Mavericks, where he had carved out an elite role for himself, having one of his best seasons. Here's what Spencer Dinwiddie had to say about joining the Los Angeles Lakers over the Dallas Mavericks. "You're a kid, and you get beat up by a bully. Dallas would have been like your mom saying, 'It's okay.' The Lakers are like your dad. Nah, you better go out there and fight until you win." I really don't have a response to this quote from Spencer Dinwiddie. The dude is a smart guy, but this really wasn't a smart statement. Now, I know that this statement might read as some serious disrespect from Spencer Dinwiddie, and honestly, maybe it was, but I don't think that was his intention at all. That is, unless he was secretly salty about the way that things ended in Dallas, with him being a key piece of that Kyrie Irving trade, but I just can't see that being the case. There's no way that this man wanted to get his revenge for that trade by just leading the Mavericks on, because that would be kind of dirty. To me, this was Spencer Dinwiddie's way of saying that there's no pressure to win in Dallas, and in Los Angeles, the standard is greatness. Regardless of what he meant though, that was definitely a mediocre analogy as far as analogies go. It's not exactly like Dallas has been some cellar dweller the past 20 years. I mean, these guys have been pretty good. And you could say what you want about Mark Cuban, but the guy's pretty good at business. He's normally out there trying to put together a pretty competitive team. Mind you, that Dinwiddie is only a few years removed from playing a major role on a Mavericks team that made an improbable run all the way to the Western Conference Finals, which, while I'm talking about the Mavericks and Spencer Dinwiddie, let me add some background on how good that he was for that team. He's not long removed from averaging 17.7 points, 5.3 assists, and 3.1 rebounds in Dallas. He did this while shooting 45.5% from the field and 40.5% from three. Guys, Dinwiddie is nice. He can get to the basket, he's a crafty scorer, he's a much needed playmaker slash ball handler, and he knows how to play next to ball-dominant stars, taking advantage of their gravity. I don't think that it's any surprise that he had his best three-point shooting season playing alongside Luka Doncic. As a basketball junkie, there's really nothing better than a mutually beneficial player-slash-star relationship. It's something that's so simple but at the same time can be so hard for some GMs to find. In Dinwiddie's first Lakers game, with 6 points and 7 assists, his stats didn't necessarily pop off of the screen, but he was impressive nonetheless. Just look at some of the reads that he was making for this Los Angeles Lakers team. Now don't get me wrong, this man was putting together a forgettable campaign in Brooklyn before the trade and then buyout, shooting just 39.3% from the field and 32.1% from three. But to me, it's hard to take anything away from that situation because that whole team was a mess. Guys, the vibes out in Brooklyn have been terrible this season, and I don't think that you guys needed me to tell you that. Their coach just got fired for a reason. So, the addition of Dinwiddie and the Lakers' patience and faith in the players that got them to the Western Conference Finals last year has started to pay dividends for them. The Lakers have yet again caught their stride mid-season, winning 6 of their last 7 games as they headed into the All-Star break. And right now, it's looking like they might be able to have their cake and eat it too, with reports dropping that LeBron would indeed like to finish his career in Los Angeles, despite reports of the Warriors' interest in him. Wait, it gets even better. The Lakers, who are one of the deeper teams in the league, remain a threat to add a big-time star like Trae Young this offseason. That is, if that's the route that they want to go. Man, these situations are situations that we are definitely going to have to break down in greater depth on my channel very soon. If you are new to the channel, be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so that you don't miss a video. So even if the Lakers didn't want to add another star and they wanted to retain their depth, it's always good to have that flexibility. You never want to feel forced to make a move. As I always say, making a move for the sake of making a move is dumb. This mindset is exactly why I was so against the Los Angeles Lakers trading D'Angelo Russell, who has been great for them. D'Lo has been so good that a Lakers legend gave him one of the biggest compliments that you can give a player in today's game, saying that when he's hot, he has the Steph Curry effect. And what's terrifying is that while something like this sounds crazy to say, he's not necessarily wrong. D'Lo has been shooting 41.7% from three this season on 6 attempts a game, and when he's hot, he can undoubtedly take over a game and have a gravity of his own. As of late, D'Lo has been exactly what this team needs, not just limiting himself to only being a shooter. I mean, did you guys see that 17-assist game against Utah with no LeBron James? That was impressive. The Lakers having somebody that is considered a role player that is able to drop 39 on 57% one night and then come back and dish out 17 dimes another is something that's nice to have in your bag of tricks and something that a lot of teams wish that they had. Which, mind you, that in that most recent Utah game, Rui Hachimura would also drop 36 points on just 19 shots. What's comedy is that after Rui did this, Ham of all people would come out and say that we need Rui to be great in order for us to be great. When he's playing like that along with the other weapons that we have, were pretty hard to beat. The Lakers don't just have role players now, they have role players that can play like stars on any given night. And when you have that, and two of the best players in the game of basketball, then you have a dangerous team that can compete with anybody. It's no coincidence that Western Conference execs are out here saying that they don't want any piece of this Lakers team in the playoffs. As a Pelicans fan, I can really say that the Lakers are a team that I'm not trying to play in the first round of the playoffs. Imagine grinding all season to get a top seed and you have these title aspirations, and then you get matched up with a team like the Golden State Warriors or the Los Angeles Lakers round 1. That sounds like a nightmare. Guys, let me know what you think about everything surrounding this Lakers team down in the comments below. Clicking the video on the screen right now is a great way to support my channel. I'm GetLikeCoop, bringing you guys the scoop until our next upload.